Hi again, this is Andy from StarWars.com here at Lucasfilm headquarters to break down the newest episode of Star Wars Rebels: Rise of the Old Masters. In this episode, the Rebels fall right into the Inquisitor's trap. This is Rebels Recon. As Kanan trains Ezra, both teacher and student struggle in their roles, leading to frustration and doubt.
And whose fault is that, Master?
It's difficult to teach.
Later, the Ghost crew stages a rescue of Luminara Unduli, but instead of the Jedi Master, they find a new enemy waiting.
I am the Inquisitor.
United against the Inquisitor, Master and Apprentice come to a greater understanding of why there is no try.
From now on, I will teach you.
We sat down with the show's creators to talk about building the perfect lightsaber and the beginnings of Ezra's Jedi training. The lightsabers really do feel like original trilogy. How did you make that happen?
The shot that I used for reference a lot was inside the cantina. Obi just kind of looking around and the lightsaber's like, and so I looked at that timing and matched the timing and basically built the same thing in CG. And I put a rod, spun it off center to see what it would do, turned on motion blur, and just made it just respond to light like crazy, just like they did on the set. And that's our lightsaber.
What was the thought behind the Inquisitor's lightsaber?
The lightsaber for the Inquisitor is like a cheat mode lightsaber. It does a lot of things that Maul could do on his own. To have a weapon that cheats those abilities and makes up for a lack of ability in some ways, is very representative of who he is.
I was assigned the lightsaber for the Inquisitor. He had already been designed. And then they pulled out this concept art that was never used before previously. And I looked and it was actually a lightsaber that we had designed for The Force Unleashed, which I was, lead concept artist on. And so I was like, yeah, I can totally do that.
What do you think Kanan's strengths will be as a master for Ezra?
He's very honest about who he is. He's very cavalier, and I think that gets him out of the kind of more dogmatic relationship a Jedi and apprentice usually have. He's willing to admit, yeah, do it or not, there's no try. I never understood that. And that makes him very likable because he's not so much holier than thou.
Are there any parallels between Ezra and Kanan's relationship and you and Freddie on set?
I remember the first time we went into record, Freddie would be like, hey, Taylor, why don't you just add a little here or something? And I was like, yeah, I was gonna do that anyways. And then Tia was talking after and she's like, Freddie is like exactly like Kanan, you're just like Ezra. Like you guys are, and I'm like, no, we're not, no. And now I'm like, oh yeah, it's the most obvious thing in the world.
Last week we asked you to send us your questions about fight or flight and once again tracked down Pablo Hidalgo to get his expert insight. How is the Inquisitor not a Sith? He's obviously a dark side user.
He is a dark side user, but not all dark side users are Sith, just in the same way not all light side users are Jedi. Being able to pick up a lightsaber and use it isn't the mark of being a Jedi or being a Sith. So there are multiple sort of schools of skill out there. In the same way, just because Ezra's, exhibits his Force abilities, would you immediately brand him as a Jedi? No, because he hasn't gone through that particular path of knowledge yet. So it seems like the Darksiders who are in charge of the galaxy, the Emperor and Vader, are spreading some of that power out, but they're not giving the sort of full abilities that they have to this lower class of underling.
Cool. Thank you so much. Have a question about this week's episode? Tweet it to @StarWars with the hashtag RebelsRecon and we'll choose a question to answer next week. Now here's your sneak preview of next week's episode, Breaking Ranks, which gives you a peek into the life of an Imperial cadet.
Cadets, you entered this facility as children, and in a few short weeks, you will leave as soldiers. By the time you complete your training, you will be prepared to serve your Emperor. Today, we will test your strength and resolve. Are you ready to become stormtroopers?
Sir, yes, sir!
At ease.
Thanks for watching Rebels Recon. You can catch Breaking Ranks at its regular time next Monday on Disney XD, but it's available right now on WatchDisneyXD.com and the Watch Disney XD app. Until then, get to know this week's episode guides and extras only on StarWars.com. This is Andy from StarWars.com here at the Lucasfilm offices to talk to you about the newest Star Wars Rebels episode, Fight or Flight. In this episode, Zeb and Ezra get sent on an impossible task